Hey guys, and welcome to the Windows 8.1 tutorials that I'm now going to start recording on the student dev channel. I've had a lot of you who are already a subscriber asking me if I will do Windows 8.1 tutorials, which I obviously am now going to, and if you're not a subscriber then I'd like to know why. You need to go ahead and subscribe now. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go over the basics. Those of you who've already seen my other tutorials in the past, you'll see the first one is all about creating the application and getting to know the environment, which shouldn't be too dissimilar from what we've done on the Windows Phone ones anyway. So the first thing we're going to do is obviously the new project. We're going to go to the store apps. You need to have the Windows 8.1 SDK installed. If you don't, you can just head over to Google, type in Windows 8.1 SDK, and you'll find it on the Microsoft site easy enough, and get the tools for Visual Studio obviously. Once you have them, you should be able to find under Store Apps and under Windows Apps, you'll see a blank app Windows. Now this is the Windows 8.1 blank template. I don't really like using anything with kind of content already on it with the grids or anything like that. I just like to have a blank application just to help you guys kind of grasp from the beginning exactly how everything works. So you want to go ahead, click on that, call it whatever you want, don't add any spaces, and you'll be presented with this screen. So this is the first bit you will see. You'll kind of see the C# side of your main app file, which kind of handles all of the on launch and all your different things here. So for example, this line here will be the frame rate when you're testing and you're debugging, as you'll see on the simulator here. You've got this little kind of debug line at the top going on with these little numbers. Disabling the frames can be as simple as just putting some lines in front of it. But anyway, let's not get into that. So the first thing you want to do is open up your main page, because this is going to be the first page your application is going to open. So as soon as people open up your app, this will be the first page they are presented with, unless you change it in the manifest and in the project settings. There is a setting in there for you to choose which page is the initial page, but it's easy enough just to stick with main page when you're building an app from the start. So just to kind of get you accustomed to what you're using here. So navigation around this generally is, if you've got a typical mouse with the scrolly wheel in the middle, you can use the scroller wheel to go up and down. You can hold control and zoom in and out so that you can kind of work your way around it, because on Windows, Windows Phone development, the phone is quite small on the screen, and the code is on the right hand side and then the application is on the left, and it works because you normally work on a portrait phone. But for the tablet, obviously it's a lot bigger, so you kind of need to get accustomed to moving around and playing with your controls a bit better. The first thing you have when you create the application is you have your standard grid. Of course, you've got all the simple things like the brush on the grid here, so you can change it between a solid color, some sort of gradient brush, a tile brush, which would be like an image, or you can just have nothing on there at all. But obviously you'd want some sort of color on your application, so you can play around with this, get the color, just change the color and run the simulator just to see what you get. So there you go, nice white background. Half of learning with this kind of stuff is just do something and then run the application straight away, and if it runs, you didn't break anything too important, and if it doesn't run, then you should probably try and work out what went wrong, or ask me. So you've got that option, which I did not have. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back to a little lighter grey because it's too bright. So you've got, obviously up here is your designer, where you can kind of drag and drop. So on the left here you have your toolbox. You kind of got all your typical controls here. These are very easy to kind of add to the environment. You just grab on one of them there and you just drag it on over in, drop it down, and it will put itself inside the grid on the page. And like I'm saying, because the tablets are so big, that's really hard to see, so you have to zoom right in to see that bit of text that you've just put down. But then it's as easy as just kind of grab and move it around with the left click and drag. Down the bottom here you can see our XAML code, where we actually put the tool in. So this is the code that actually created that text box, which we did very easily by just dragging the tool on. Other than that, for this first tutorial, I'll just explain over here on the right hand side, bottom right, you have the properties section. So this is the properties of whatever you're clicked on. So here is the grid, it says type grid, and here is a text block. There you go, you've got a name for the text block. So if you were trying to reference this text block in the code, which I will explain in one of the next videos, you can kind of name it here. So I can call it my text block. And what that's going to do is that's going to mean if I want to access that specific text block, I will do it by its name. So there's a couple of bits there for you. Foreground, again, you know, when we were clicking on the background here, we were playing with the background brush. If you click on text, you have a foreground one, and the foreground basically means the color of the text, so it's just text color. Again, very easy to change, nice and simple with the properties boxes down here. So this is going to host just about everything you need to do. So you can kind of just enter some text here, so random text, and it's going to update itself on the display. So for my advice, if you haven't done Windows 8.1 development at all, or you have hardly even touched kind of, you know, C# and XAML as a whole, I would start by watching. You're obviously watching this video now. It's a stupid comment to tell you to watch it. Watch this video, finish watching this video, and then kind of just go off on your own, create, you know, keep the application that you've created here and just play around with it, drop some tools in, get used to moving things around, laying it out. Another thing I'll go into more depth about, a lot of people find that obviously tablet applications can be, you can have a smaller tablet, you can have bigger tablets, you can have this kind of, you know, full-on desktop machine which can run these applications, not just the tablets. So some people like to account for that with their layouts, and a lot of people will actually use the layout here. So you can see, because I'm dragging this around, what's happening is we've got a margin down here, and this will mean that wherever I put this, it will set itself 128 pixels off of the left of the screen and 119 off of the top to get that position. Now that is really not ideal when you have a monitor that could be 720 or one that could be 1080. That means that your application is going to tuck itself up in the top left corner of the screen. So a lot of people will kind of use the alignment settings. Now if I try to center this with the margins on, you'll notice that isn't actually in the center. Now the reason for that is because I've centered it, but I'm still offset by 213. So if I take that out and set that to 0, you'll notice now my text is directly in the center. But then obviously if I wanted to change the text itself, I have to go into the text settings and just align that to the center. So now my text is perfectly in the center of the screen, albeit not central on, you know, from top to bottom, but from left to right, my text is in a very central place. And I mean, yeah, so just kind of play around like I am now, change the font size, get kind of accustomed to the you know, Visual Studio itself. Up in the top right here, we've got the Solution Explorer. This is just, you know, an overview of the pages, the folders, just about all of your project files are in there. So when we want to create a new page, we right click on the solution here, we add a new item, and then in here you've got your blank pages, you've got all these like item pages here. You can see if we go down, we find a class file. So if you just wanted a file that's you're going to use to run, you know, C# commands, keep the rest of your application clean, then you can do that. So I hope that gave you a rough idea of getting into Windows 8.1. You know, it is just a matter of getting in, messing around with the controls and just seeing what comes out of it, because at the end of the day, that's all I did when I learned. It's just play with stuff. But what you should do, you should always, as soon as you do something, move something or change any settings, just save it and run it. And if it still runs, there's a good chance you haven't broken anything too important and you can keep going. So I hope that was a helpful first tutorial. Obviously in the next few we'll start to get into some more complex stuff, like adding different tools and interacting with the events, and I'll explain how events work with each tool and what kind of events you can use and what settings they can bring with them, like for overloads. So I hope that's helped, guys. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and check out my Patreon page, which you'll find at the top of my channel on the top right, just next to the banner. And I guess I'll see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching.